board. My name is Leslie Guzman. My pronouns are she, ella, and I'm so glad that everybody is here today. I'm a bilingual speech language pathologist. I'm an auditory and verbal therapist as well, and I serve as the vice president for professional practice for the Hispanic Caucus for ASHA. And again, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to be here with us today. Um, and as you were talking, I hope everybody brought something to drink. I have my coffee, but tea or whatever helps you feel cozy. That's what this hour is meant to feel like. We want it to feel like it's a cafecito with colleagues. And so we'll be spending some time having a guided conversation just to make sure that we can continue to connect. And so let's go ahead and move forward. All right. So I put this slide here because getting together for coffee may seem like a simple thing, but it really is a powerful thing. It gives us a chance to connect outside of our daily roles and create meaningful relationships. I mean, I think for a lot of us, it's happened that we share therapy tips or activities or come up with some creative solutions when we're getting together, just drinking coffee or whatever it is that we like. Let me see. There's more people in our waiting room. Here we go. Letting them in now. Okay. And honestly, our work is tough. And so having community makes a huge difference. And so as we're getting settled, take a look at the menu that you see on the screen. And then if you don't mind using your chat function to enter, what would you select from this in the event that we were all together, getting together for a true cafecito, right? In the chat, we already talked about who everybody is here, but in case there's, I think, one more new person, just tell us a little bit more about where you're joining us from so we can have that ongoing in the chat. And then Paula, let me know what selections we're making, or unmute yourself. We don't have too many people, so.
I can go, and I can share what I would choose. So the coffee, it depends on the time of the day. In the morning, like first thing in the morning, I can do either like do a black coffee or maybe a little bit of creamer. Um, and then I also need to pick me up after lunch. Um, so I also need black coffee and maybe like black with creamer. And if I'm with friends, if it's more of a social thing, maybe a latte or a cappuccino. So that
Mm.
would be like the F.
There you go. Me too. I would go for F. Anybody else? Ada, I know you had your coffee. What are you drinking?
Mhm.
Yes. Um, Definitivo, I would go for F.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So latte with whole milk or oat milk. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be my choice.
Awesome.
By
Oh,
the
we
way,
have
I'm
more.
joining from Puerto Rico. Sorry.
Ooh.
So
Awesome. Love to hear
good
it.
coffee right here.
Yes, you do. All right. So, anybody else, Paula? Anybody wrote anything in the chat?
Thing in the chat yet?
Okay. All right.
Maybe
Well,
there's also tea or hot chocolate. Anyone? More of a hot chocolate or hot tea?
I'm more of a tea person. But I do like all of your choices here. Pink looks great, but I'd probably go for A.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, A looks amazing.
Sandra in
All
the chat says tea as well.
Good, love it. Okay, so here's a picture of the entire board. Not all of us are here today, but we'll still talk about everybody. Um, the Hispanic Caucus is uniquely diverse. It includes individuals descending from Latin America, clinicians, like we said, from Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Central and South America, and Spain. Our shared heritage really shapes our mission, which is advocating for culturally and linguistically responsive practices and increasing Spanish speaking professionals and resources to better serve our community. So we know that terms like Hispanic and Latine capture different parts of our identities. And the caucus wants to be inclusive for all. Okay, so your thoughts are welcomed, your suggestions as we move forward through the conversation, because at the heart of all of this, we really care about representation, advocacy, and best practices that serve everyone. So, with that in mind, I'm going to let Dr. Paula Pineda introduce herself and tell you all a little bit about her role here.
Oh, so hi everyone. Yep, so my name is Paula Pineda. I am the president for the Hispanic Caucus for ASHA. I've been in this role since beginning of the year, January. So I'm still new. I'm still new at this. It's been wonderful. It's been great meeting colleagues and also like because we get to collaborate with the other caucuses. So also like learning about their missions. If you're going to ASHA, we're going to be presenting. We submitted a proposal and it got accepted. So the Hispanic Caucus will be presenting, and also I'm representing the Hispanic Caucus and presenting with the rest of the caucuses. More information will be forthcoming. So I'm also a pediatric speech language pathologist. I'm originally from Colombia. That's why you hear an accent. But I've been here in the US for longer than I lived in Colombia. So for many of us who have that dual um background or different backgrounds, it's like we're from here, but we're not from here, we're from there. And we had like that sense of belonging, like where do we fit? Right. My family's still in Colombia, so I still have very deep roots in Colombia. My parents are there. My some of my siblings are in Colombia. I live in New York. So as I mentioned, I was a pediatric SOP. I still am a pediatric SOP, but now I work in higher education. I'm at Teachers College, Columbia University, and I've been there for the past 3 years. And my mission hasn't changed. It's always been about giving back to the community. It's just the setting has changed. So now I'm very excited to be able to give back to my community in this role and supporting our Latina Hispanic community of CSD professionals. So yeah, that's me.
And she's an
Uh,
amazing leader. I mean, I've only been a
oh,
part of the caucus for about 4 months, 3 months, and I already noticed, like, Paula, you're amazing. Um,
thank
we
you.
also have our secretary here, Ludi. I'll have you introduce yourself and share a little bit about you.
I'm Ludi. I am the secretary for the Hispanic Caucus. I've been now, I think it's been about almost 3 years. And I joined the caucus when I was, looking for leadership opportunities. I hadn't heard much about the Hispanic Caucus, and so I'm really glad to be part of the group now, trying to get, the word out about what we are doing. Um, there's a lot of new exciting things that are coming forward. So we're really excited for anybody that's going to ASHA. We'll be there. And so please come and say hi to us. We are also hopefully going to have more of these meetings to get to know all of our members and all of those who are interested in, contributing to the community as well. I am currently in Florida and I am an inpatient acute care SLP. I cover primarily ENT and the medically complex patients in the ICU. Um, and I'm just really passionate about mentoring students. I'm the student lead as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm originally from Argentina, born and raised. And I, just like Paula said, strong roots, same. All of my family is there. I am going in December for 3 weeks, and I'm really, really excited because I get to take my youngest one to visit my family. And it's fun to see them with their family members because they come back as if they're like fluent Spanish speakers for a little bit, and then that goes away until we go back. So it's really exciting to do that for them. Hopefully, almost every year we get to go, but my family continues to grow. I am pregnant currently,
Oh,
and the tickets are getting expensive. So
yeah.
we'll see how the future looks for us. So
Oh, how fun. Thank you for sharing all of that. In our picture here, you'll see this is our treasurer that's actually transitioning out, Dr. Yvonne Maldonado de la Rosa, but an amazing contributor and still someone that is actively supporting us. This is our treasurer that has been recently elected right here, Cecilia Jimenez. We have our VP of Public Relations, Inez Esparza. And if anybody else is here, please just interrupt me. We also have our editor, Jocelyn Ramos, and then we have our graduate student representative, Alan Acevedo, and our doctorate student representative right here, Salvador Nunez. All right. And if you scan this QR code, that'll give you just quick access to sign up for our email list. And we'll be sending a lot of updates through there, so please go ahead and sign up. And we will give you access to the slides. That way, in case you miss anything, you can just go back towards it. All right. Oh, almost skipped such an important slide here. It's time for us to take a moment to celebrate. Hay que celebrar. In this January, we had a new ASHA elected a new president-elect, and it is Dr. Linda Rosa Lugo. And then in 2026, she'll be stepping into the role of the president. I mean, what an incredible honor, honestly, not only for her, but for all of us in the community. To have a leader of Hispanic descent at the top of this organization is important and something that we need to celebrate and share with everyone that you know. Dr. Rosa Lugo has been an ASHA member for over 30 years. She also served as the vice president of professional practice and the president of the Hispanic Caucus. So please take a moment to scan the QR code if you want to read a little bit more about her. And who knows, hopefully we can have her in one of our cafecitos in the near future. That would just be amazing so you all could get to know her and ask her any questions as well. All right. So now we're going to discuss a topic that's a little bit heavier, okay? And a topic that, although it's heavy, it's one that's super important for us to discuss as a group. And so I want us to mentally prepare, have an open mind, but also lean into any feelings of discomfort you may experience as we're looking at this information. And then this is more for you all to have introspective awareness. It is not necessarily something you need to put in the chat or share, although if you feel inclined to do so, we're here for you. So the changes that were proposed by ASHA this year all have to do with accreditation. And we know that accreditation is something that every profession needs, so we can be delivering safe services, effective services, and services that are high quality. And ASHA, of course, supports this because they want to keep the public safe. They want to make sure that incoming students and new clinicians, they know what they're doing as they're entering the field, and they want our profession to keep moving forward. However, they do have a council, and it's called the Council of Academic Accreditation, the CAA. And so their role basically is to look at SLP and AUD programs, and then they go in there and they check that whatever it is that they promised, they are doing so that they can prepare students to deliver the most optimal services. And so earlier this year, the CAA, as well as the Council for Clinical Certification, the CFCC, they proposed changes to some of their academic standards. Interestingly enough, some of these changes have to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so this is an area that has been getting a lot more attention in the past years. And so let's talk a little bit more about that, because if you get a chance, I would like for you to take the time to scan the QR codes you see on the screen so you can have access to the documentation. Again, you'll have access to this later. More importantly, the third QR code that you see titled side by side will show you exactly what those comparisons are like, because those changes are going into effect coming October 1st of this year. Okay, so something I want us to discuss too, and something I want us all to know of is that these changes happen quickly. So the CAA proposed their changes late May. Then the CFCC followed by proposing their changes in early June. Then what happened is that they gave us time to read all the documents, to do our research, and then to figure out how we wanted them to know how we felt about this. But then they closed the service by July 10th. And then just last week, August 19th, they sent out an email saying that it had already been approved. So let's think about it. These changes happened in less than 3 months' time. And in my perspective, I don't think it was enough time to give members the time to really deep dive into all of this documentation, let alone weigh in into how we felt about it. So with that in context, let's move on and look at some specific language, because this is what matters. We know that, here we go. This one particularly is specific to the Council for Clinical Certification, the CFCC. And so as you can see right here, we have to keep up with our CEUs, right? Our professional practice and development. This one right here is showing the changes. They crossed out cultural competency, cultural humility, cultural responsive practice, or DEI, and then they switched all that language to what you see highlighted in yellow, person-centered care and or professional interactions. Let's sit with that for a minute. So here we can see those changes are huge. Let's give a little bit more feedback. These words that you see crossed out and in red, those changes came about only 2 years ago in 2023. And that change happened because ASHA members spoke up. They gave them a lot of feedback and they said, hey, there's a lot of things that we're seeing in our practice that are not okay. And then around that time, it was movements like the Black Lives Matter movement, and then the disparities we saw with COVID-19 that led researchers and clinicians alike to speak up and say, hey, we need to better prepare SLPs to deliver equitable and inclusive services. So I'm curious to know, now that we have taken a look at the documentation, at the language, we know some of the history behind this. When some of you that were able to follow this along as it was happening since May, what were some of your immediate thoughts and reactions to the change of the language? And if this is the first time that you're taking a look at this information, what are those thoughts? We just want to know what you're thinking.
It seems to me it's just this, it seems.
We hear you, Brenda.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good morning. I'm sorry, this is the first time, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with the connection. That's why I don't have my camera. Anyway, I did participate in oh, I think someone else is talking.
I think Deborah, can you mute yourself, please? See, there we go.
Okay, so I did receive all of the emails asking for our input way back when, and I did respond. And I really think that all of this these words that are crossed out in red, this is more the way I see it, more political. In other words, because of what we have going on currently in the administration. But when we look at person-centered care, we can, in my mind, it doesn't surprise me that this would have happened. These changes have happened in 3 months or so. That even when we look at the quote unquote new person-centered care, I still think that we can include um, all of these other components that are part of who we are because we are Latina, Latinx, however we identify, and still help our students, our clients, our patients to feel comfortable, to feel understood, and to give that high quality of care. But I did respond to it, and I did let them know that I was not okay with the proposed changes, but I never got any, or obviously we didn't get any sort of general response back until we find out, okay, these are the changes that are being made, and that's it. So that's I was surprised, I was taken aback, but again, at the core of it, it looks more and I don't know that it's just our industry. I think it's across the board where these changes are being made, and it's unfortunate. But I still like to look at the silver lining. We can still infuse our care, our cultural components in that person-centered care.
Absolutely. Yes. And we'll talk about a little bit more about those specifics and why we feel that having language that is vague almost can be dangerous. And I agree with you in a lot of what you said that it is not just our field that this is happening to. It is in and I mean, we see this daily, right? On the news. You open up your phone and there's something new. You close it up and you open it again and oh my goodness, I didn't even think that was possible. This is the current state of the world that we're in. And so this is why it's so important to, yes, have these discussions, because I think it's within these spaces that we will continue to provide, even though it's not explicitly written in the language, we can continue to abide by those things that we know are true and that still matter. So thank you for sharing, Brenda. Anybody else that would like to add in? Feel free to put anything in the chat as we move along. But let's talk a little bit more about specifics, because there is something that we can do. Okay. And so let's take a look at what is happening. Before that, I'm going to give a huge shout out to the Asian Pacific Islanders Speech Language Hearing Caucus, the API, and particularly to their anti-racism learning community. So when they found out about these changes, they quickly mobilized, and then they put together the summary of concerns that you see on the screen. We'll take some time to deep dive into each point, so that way this can help us all think critically and see how we want to question what is going on. And so another thing that's important here is what we're going to do. And so there is a call to action. Although things have already been put forward and October 1st is when the changes go into effect, what is happening is that ASHA and the CAA will be addressing some of these questions that we do have. What it takes from our point is to sign up. They will be having the meeting September 5th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, I know it may not work for all of us, but I do think that all of us can put in our little grain of rice by signing up and submitting a question. If you scan that QR code on the screen, you'll be taken directly to that portal to put your name, your email, and then your question. And so today, let's use this space to come up with some of those questions so that we can help other members think about what to write as we're going through it. And then again, we do have all of this information from the API caucus. And so let's talk about it. And I'll expand on those points. And as I'm expanding on those points, I want you to type in the chat if you can come up with a question or really any thought that comes into your mind. So the first point was about the vagueness and lack of specific language. And so this is something that Brenda already brought forth. And yes, the proposed language is too vague. What does it do? It opens the door to potential harmful interpretations of the language. And so without clear language, the accountability is also weak. And we have to keep in mind that students are fresh, right? Even if you've been in a different field, as you're coming in as a new graduate clinician and into the field of speech pathology, you're still having to learn about what is important and how to navigate systems so that they can serve populations of diverse backgrounds with the most optimal care. The second point is about the ethical alignment. And so DEI is not really an option. It is something that is an ethical obligation. And so if the CAA is saying that they are committed to equity, then we feel like the language should reflect as such. And then something that we already brought up too is that we are moving backwards. It feels like there's this risk, but now we know that it is into effect. And so removing that language is not okay. We have worked already so hard to get away from only cultural competence to cultural humility and to social justice. And so we cannot lose that progress. And ASHA is celebrating 100 years this year. I mean, is this really the time to move back in our practice and in what we feel and we think is the best practice for everybody? And then the really great point that you brought up is that this is a political and legal pressure potentially, right? And we can see it happening everywhere. And so we need to find ways to continue to uphold these ethical standards, even in this difficult political climate that we're in. And so, what is ASHA doing in that way to protect all of us? Um, And we already talked about the fact that the call for explicit DI language matters. A lot of the members felt like there needs to be even stronger language like anti-racism, anti-discrimination, and cultural humility. These type of words need to be included so that they can become a part of a discussion and not something that makes people feel potentially uncomfortable. And then again, what impact is this having on our community, particularly those communities that are already marginalized and underrepresented? Some of the language that they put was person-centered, family-centered. Do we know if this includes non-traditional families? We don't know. ASHA did not specify any of it because now the language is a lot vague, a lot more vague. And then some members of API felt like they needed to remind everyone that many LGBTQ plus professionals, they didn't always feel safe in ASHA. And so they would appreciate having this type of language included within this legal documentation. And then again, ASHA's duty is to protect all of us. What are they doing to protect us as the 8% who may face a greater risk under these weaker standards? Paula, has anything come in through the chat?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
I'm curious to know if anyone is hearing about this for the first time, or if we're all familiar, or if we've all read it, seen it somewhere before.
Hi, I'm Sandra. I'm actually a doc student over at New Mexico State in school psychology. I can say, as far as like the American Psychological Association is going through something similar. I think the Counseling Association as well. Not school psychology, so that I have a feeling that may come. Our focus is with children, and so I lean to that a lot. I mean, I agree with everything that has been said thus far. I do think that one of the things that worries me is us as students, like we lean on clinicians, to prepare us, to supervise us. And that's one, sometimes it's lacking. Other times bilingual supervision is not available. So I have a fear that as we go on in generations of clinicians, we may lose some of our core values. And it's going to be up to us, I think. In whatever way we can, because I do think there's a lot of silencing, and with that comes erasure of our people. And I think right now there is a narrative that's very like anti-immigration, anti-Latino. We still continue to see anti-Blackness, and so I definitely don't. I worry, and so I'm hoping that there's spaces like these. You know, um, that we can have those conversations and really be turning into action. So yeah, just kind of want to put in my 2 cents in that.
Thank you. Anybody else? I agree. I feel the same way. I think it's hard at times, even for us. This is why I think we're all here, right? We want community. We want to meet with others that have a similar mindset and that think alike. But it will really be up to us to continue to uphold those standards so that we don't lose the progress and the change that we've been really working hard. I mean, even just listening to how the Hispanic Caucus came about in 1992, when it was really about addressing the disparities that were happening within the field, the discrimination that a lot of clinicians were facing. And so it really started there, but now we have to think even further than that. We have to think about, like you said, Sandra, those clinicians we're mentoring, and then because each one of these clinicians are serving all of these individuals, and so the impact that we're able to make can be big. And so let's let Asha know. Let's all put a comment. Let's even if you just want to copy and paste something from this slide to ask them, please address the following, and then copy that statement. That can be a good start to make a difference. And at least we'll let them know that we're actively doing something to let them know that we care and that these changes that they're doing matter. So I'm going to play this short clip right here. You should be able to hear the audio, and if not, please stop me and let me know.
Ever feel drained after switching languages all day, like your brain just wants silence? That's a perfectly natural response that feels a lot like bilingual burnout. Bilingualism isn't just about knowing words, it's about navigating systems. Each language has its own sounds, grammars, gestures, and cultural rules. And moving between them constantly is like having multiple tabs open in your mind, each one running at full speed while you try to stay present in every conversation. You might speak Spanish with your parents, English at work, and switch again for your partner or child, but it's not just switching between languages. Sometimes it's more like switching between selves. So when you forget a word, pause mid-sentence, or just feel fatigued, that's not failure. That's your mind working overtime. Multilingualism is brilliance, and brilliance still needs rest. I'm the bilingual professor, empowering the next generation of bilingual minds.
Thank you all for sticking through this uncomfortable conversation. And also, I'm hoping that you recognize that the feeling of burnout and dissociation that we're experiencing from time to time, sometimes in between sessions, right? And sometimes at the end of the session, um, I hope that it gives you a sense of validation that what you're feeling and what you're experiencing is true. And so look at the question on the screen, which reads, how are you experiencing burnout and what helps you feel better or cope? What kind of supports do you feel make the biggest difference for you? And so if you want to unmute, go ahead and let's talk a little bit about burnout. Like I said, for me, it happens sometimes I'm just going all day long, and I don't even have the time to think about how I'm feeling myself. Then at the end of the day, I will catch myself staring into nothingness. And I realize that that dissociation is happening because then I open my phone and I find out that the news is going crazy, right? But then I still have to compose myself, go home and be a mother, go home and be a wife, go home and cook dinner. And then we go on and we do it the same day, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So I'm curious to know what it feels like for all of you, and then what you're doing to support yourself so you can support the rest of the people in your circle.
I can jump in and share my experience. I am in my last year of my PhD program. So I'm collecting data in Puerto Rico. But I live in Massachusetts. So that you know, even though I grew up in Puerto Rico, uh, being away from my actual home is very complex, but I do have my family here. And burnout is real because I have like a lot of administrative work, which is very different from when I was a clinician. That is like very like physical work, working with children. Right? So it kind of it looks different now, but it's still like uh, the same feeling of like, okay, I want to take Saturday off. Can I do that? And sometimes I can't. I have to still work and write and connect with participants. So I guess my way of feeling better, other than exercising and such, is finding groups like this, where even though the news are very loud, this is still happening, right? Like we are still coming together as a community and trying to find ways to keep supporting the work we do with the families we work and clients we work daily. Um, so yeah, I think this was very important to keep moving for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ada. I love how you pointed out the difference and how burnout can look different for those practicing clinicians and then the people that are doing all of the other work, like being a student and gathering data and thinking about the writing portion of things. So much of that goes into all of it, but different settings within still the same field. And so I thank you for sharing and yeah, this is why we're creating this space for us to feel safe to discuss.
Hi, I wanted to say something specific to bilingualism. And by the way, congratulations, Sada, on your last year of the PhD program. That's awesome. And So I think for bilingualism, it's hard. I find myself sometimes not even being able to speak either language. And so I think in particular when it's like contagious meeting, like there's like legal things involved, or even just like a lot of this like just having to switch between back and forth, which I'm very appreciative to have that ability. But I think this last year, I worked in California, and it was very much needed to just go back and forth between the families and the providers, and so realizing that at some point it's hard to even talk or speak to your family, to your children. Like I have a daughter, and she's a talker, and there's times where I find myself just like mute. And then I'm like, okay, I need to like talk myself out of it internally, and kind of like what you said, just like what can make me feel better. We have pets, so I lean into that, into my pets, and they don't ask me to talk. They just want a pet, and just like bringing that sensory awareness back, I think helps me. But I agree with Ada. I think having spaces such as these will kind of help get us through the noise, because it's there and we have to acknowledge it, but we also have to find ways to take care of ourselves.
Thank you. That was excellent. Yes. My dog is one of my best friends. So when I'm getting to that point, going home and petting him is so relaxing for me, and it does bring me down. Anybody else? Even if you just want to share one tip of that you do to to help you feel better through those difficult moments. Paula, anything that you do?
Yeah, for me is staying active. And I know I have to work out. Like if I want to do a workout, it has to be in the morning because by the time I get back home, I have an hour commute to work and then back home. I would not be able to do it. And then, but what I try to do too in the afternoons is go for a walk, especially after sitting in front of a screen all day. I need some fresh air. I put my music on and then I just go for a long walk. So for me, is that. And scheduling vacation too.
Which is
Like
stressful
back
up
from
until that point.
just scheduling time off. And I'm also guilty. Like I I worked for so many years, like nonstop, and I still do. Um, and then school and everything. Like I was not. I used to feel guilty taking like not and I don't call it not doing anything because I even with my students, I tell them, don't say that you didn't do anything, you rested. But
Yeah.
just like shifting that perspective of like, oh, I didn't do anything over the weekend. No, I did. I rested. And I needed to stay in bed all day resting. That's doing something.
Yep.
But I was guilty of like I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to like just like turn my brain off and always like thinking of work and what I had to do the following week. And I'm getting better at it. Of just like taking Saturday and Sunday to like center myself again and do things that are not work related. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Resting is doing something, right? It is an action. And
Mhm.
it's in there. And um so yeah, important for us to learn how to do that, how to continue taking care of ourselves so we can continue to support the rest of our community and those that we serve too. All right.
Hmm.
So here I just want to remind everyone that we are here for you. Together we can really help each other navigate these systems that sometimes feel tough, especially in those spaces that we're often underrepresented in. And so I'm just going to take a moment to read. This is something that we came up with as the Hispanic Caucus. So seek out mentorships, get involved with the Hispanic Caucus and other affinity groups, and help share policy and programming. Your cultural strengths are an asset. Lean into them. Build community and persist in advocating for representation and inclusion. You belong where you walk. Even in the spaces in which you do not see yourself represented, your thoughts, ideas, and voice can help make a difference. And that goes for everyone. Share this with your students if you feel like this could be helpful. We have community, we have each other, and we're not alone as we continue to move forward in these difficult times too. That's really all that I have for us today. Like Ludi said earlier today, we have a lot of goals in mind. We want to expand, we want to grow, and we want to build community. And so remind yourselves too that as a Hispanic or Latina clinician in higher education, you have a responsibility, and that is to continue to push for progress because staying stagnant, especially in these times, it is not an option. We've come so far. So let's continue to build community together. Let's use our platform. Let's use our privilege as educated clinicians so we can drive and make this meaningful change. We want to hear all of your ideas. If you want to volunteer, there's our email. Please reach out. If you want to nominate someone to join us in the cafecito, to headline it, also let us know your thoughts about that. And just like I want these, we all want these to be a regular thing because again, at the end of the day, it's not just about the caffeine. It's about building that connection and encouraging each other and building community. And that's truly our goal. Um, and so, yeah, Paula, any closing thoughts? Anybody else?
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you for putting this together as well. This was great. I just want to hear about everyone else. Any thoughts, any comments, any questions that they have?
Hi, good morning. So I was just curious, was this the first time you're doing something like this? Because to be honest, I had signed up for the Hispanic Caucus years ago, but I never heard of any kind of webinar or any kind of Zoom meeting, anything like that. So I was when I saw this, that's why I signed up. But so this is the first one that you're doing?
It isn't actually. And
Oh,
so
wow.
this is Paula's project. Like she started the cafecitos and then I came into because she was in the role that I'm currently in, a VP of professional practice. And then when her and I met, she brought this up and it just resonated. I mean, who doesn't love a cafecito and having conversations with a cafecito? And so I we decided to continue with these. I think we're learning and we're doing so much better at advertising and making sure that everyone can hear about them. And so this is not the first, but it is the first of many more to come. We do want to, in the past, we've had, and Paula, please jump in. This is your baby. So let us know who has been a part of the cafecitos, and then we'll continue to add more info.
Yeah, I'm also curious. Brenda, how did you hear about the cafecito? Was it through social media, email, word of mouth?
No, it was just on the ASHA website. I signed up through the for the caucus, like I said, a couple years ago, and then I received an email
So you received it.
about this. And yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I mean, it's nice to know that there's this space for us as an SLP that was around for a while, 20 years counting. I've seen it all from supervisors who did not look like me, who did not understand, who did not support, to the surprised look on clients, patients, students, their families, their caregivers, to wow, you can actually speak to us in a language that is familiar and you look like us. And to walk into so many spaces that where I was the only brown face in the room, from having participated in NISHLA, being the multicultural chair, and trying to really get more Latino students interested in this profession. I've done it all. I've been in so many areas, but I really want to say that I've enjoyed this time because, as I said, I can't recall. I'm in private practice now. That was my journey, from working at a hospital to a school to outpatient clinics and now in private practice. But I cannot recall a time where I have participated and just seen Latino women as SLPs. This is truly the first time. And I'm shocked, pleasantly shocked. And I, like I said, I did it also for the gals that are, finishing up their doctorate program, are in their doctorate program. I did that as well. So I have a doctorate too. And even at that level, there was so much, how would I say, jumping through hoops
Yeah.
to prove that you are part of, this space. You belong here. And I found that shocking because I did my program in Florida. So I thought it was going to be a little bit different, and it wasn't. It was the same thing. You still have to continuously prove yourself over and over and over again. So I thank you, ladies, for doing this. Like I said, pleasantly surprised, and I loved it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your feedback.